I hope you liked listening and reading the story of Prudy's problem and how she solved it. It's actually one of my favorite stories that we read this year. Let's go ahead and let's complete the story map together. We'll revisit characters, setting, problem, solution, and theme. Don't forget, theme is our focus for today. Theme is the lesson or the moral that we are supposed to learn from the story. Let's go ahead and let's look at our characters for Prudy's problem and how she solved it. We actually have a lot of characters, but we really want to focus on just the characters that we see the most. So yes, I understand we had like a turtle and we had a mouse, but those are sort of very, very secondary characters that actually we only really saw in the illustrations. So let's concentrate on the people or the animals. In this case, we don't have any main character animals that are important to the story. Who were some of the important characters in our story today? If you're not sure, look back in the story to help yourself find them. Okay, I heard some really great ideas. So I think we can all agree that Prudy is one of our main characters. We also have Prudy's mom and Prudy's dad. Prudy also has some friends in the story, and sometimes friends aren't very important, but in this story, I think we can all agree that those friends are very important. So she has the friend of Egbert, and she also has Belinda, and she also has the friend of Harold. Okay. Now, if I look at my story map, it tells me to place an asterisk, that's that little star, next to the main character. Well, who's the main character of Prudy's problem and how she solved it? That's right. If you said Prudy, you're absolutely correct. Prudy is the main character. How do I know this? Well, everything revolves around Prudy in our story. And aside from that, her name is also in the title. So that's a very good indicator that she's my main character. Good job. Now let's go on to setting. A lot of us are still forgetting that we moved beyond setting just being the where. Now that we're in third grade, we also have to understand that setting includes the when. So we need two answers always for setting. We need a where and we need a when. So where does this story primarily take place? I agree. It mainly takes place at Prudy's house, whether it be in her backyard, okay, whether it be in her bedroom, okay, but the main setting is Prudy's house. And now I need a when. When does this take place? Is this taking place in the morning, in the evening? Is this taking place in the past or in the present or in the future? Is it taking place in fall, winter, spring? And sometimes this is a lot harder than you'd think. You really have to use the clues from the story. Well, I'm not really sure about a season, although I do know that Prudy's dad mows the lawn in the story. So that gives me a pretty good idea that it's probably in the summer, or we actually do mow the lawn coming into the fall. I know we mowed our lawn yesterday and it's in November. So it could be the summertime. I also remember her friend was chasing butterflies, and I really don't see butterflies very many times a year, except for in the summertime. So I think summer is a pretty good guess. So I'm going to say summertime. And I'm also going to add one more. I'm going to add that it's in the present. This doesn't look like an old story, like I don't have Conestoga wagons and old cars or old telephones. I also don't have spaceships and aliens and things like that. So I'm assuming that it's in the summertime in the present tense. Present meaning it could happen today. So there's my setting. Mrs. Stewart's going to center these. All right, now we have our problem. Well, considering our whole story revolves around Prudy's problem, I sure hope we all know what Prudy's problem is. Take a minute to think about how you would say what her problem is in your head. Or tell it to me. Tell it to your screen right now. I can just imagine some of the answers that we heard, but I think we can all agree that Prudy's problem is Prudy has too much stuff. She collects everything. Everything and anything is something that she collects. So her problem is that she has too many things. She keeps everything that she has. And obviously, Prudy doesn't see that as being her problem, but it really is. Her problem is that she just has too much stuff. Okay, so I'm going to write this in a complete sentence. Prudy's problem is she collects everything and has too much stuff. That's her problem. A problem so much that she doesn't even have any organization. Her bedroom door is exploding. Her mom is finding mushrooms in the house. Ugh. So her house is not clean because of Prudy, and her bedroom is almost impossible to get through. Okay, what about the solution? What solution comes from Prudy's problem? Take a minute to think about it. If you need to, go back and revisit the story. Page 286 is a good start for where you might find the resolution. Okay. Did you figure out what her problem was? I have a feeling a lot of you said that she built a zoo, and that was how her problem was solved. Okay. But don't forget, before she built that zoo, she came up with the solution by going and looking at other places to get some ideas. Remember, she looked around for inspiration first. She went to visit an art collection. She visited a fish collection. She visited a rock collection and a library. And she did all of that to come up with her solution. And her solution was to build the Prudy Museum of Indescribable Wonderment. Okay, so now that's a lot to put. We need to put that into some kind of a sentence. So I'm going to say in a complete sentence, Prudy went to look for ideas at different places. She decided on building a museum called the Prudy Museum of Indescribable Wonderment. Oh my goodness, I need to retabulate my size. Okay, so I also have a spelling mistake here. Do you see it's underlined? You always want to click on those and fix those. You never want to turn in work that has a spelling error, especially if the computer is helping you. Okay, I'm going to make my text a little smaller. Okay, so Prudy went to look for ideas at different places. She decided on building a museum called the Prudy Museum of Indescribable Wonderment. She didn't build that by herself, so I think somehow I want to show that her friends and her parents helped her. She decided on building a museum with her family and friends' help, called the museum the Prudy Museum of Indescribable Wonderment. I'm happy with that now because I had that she went to look for ideas. I have that she didn't do it alone. She had people help her. And I was very specific and I added the detail of the name of her museum. Okay. Thanks for your help with that one. Okay, now let's move on to theme. Remember, theme also has to be a complete sentence. So it's not a one-word answer. It has to be a complete sentence. You should not have a name in the theme. So if I put Prudy or anything about Prudy in the theme, then I have a wrong answer. It has to be something that stands for everyone. It's a lesson that we can all learn. Can you think of any theme or anything that we could learn from our story of Prudy's problem and how she solved it? Okay, I think we have a couple different ideas that we can actually put here. So I'm going to start with a 1 for my first one. And if you were doing this on your own, you wouldn't need more than 1, but I'm going to go ahead and put more than 1 because I know that some of you have different answers. So the first thing I heard was somebody was thinking teamwork and cooperation. And I agree with that. But remember, teamwork and cooperation, that's not a complete sentence. So we have to put that in a complete sentence. So let's start with that whole idea of teamwork. Because yes, Prudy and her family and friends used teamwork. I think I'm going to have to take my number 1 out of here first. Okay, so teamwork. What does teamwork do in this story? Yeah, it helps make things easier. If she was trying to build that museum all on her own, no way could she build that all on her own. Aside from the fact that that's a severe case of hyperbole, isn't it? Severe exaggeration. But teamwork, okay, teamwork makes things go faster and easier. Okay, just like in Cumax Fish. If they never had the teamwork of the village, there's no way that Cumac would have ever caught that fish, and then the village would never have had that huge feast. Okay, I know a couple of you have a different answer. Let me make this a little smaller so we can fit it in here. The other idea that I feel that some of you have is something about being organized. I think we can all agree that Prudy, oh my goodness, she definitely is not a very organized person at the beginning of this. So let's go ahead and let's think about how we could incorporate a sentence, because organized or organization, that's one word, so that does not work as a theme. How can we turn that into a sentence that would be good for everybody? Okay, so organization helps you, what could we say? Okay, some people said helps you be neat. Okay, some of you were thinking the opposite way. I sort of put a positive spin on it, but some of you were thinking of saying it a little differently, that not being organized can mean that you lose things or can mean that you have some kind of a negative consequence. So that would work too. So we could take that form too. Not being organized has negative consequences. That works as well. Okay, Mrs. Stewart needs to make some more room here. So here we have three different themes. The second and the third one are sort of similar. It's just that one has more of a positive spin than the other one, but they all still mean the same. Okay, teamwork makes things go faster and easier. And then we have our two about organization. Organization helps you be neat, or not being organized has negative consequences. All right, boys and girls, nice job on our story map for Prudy's problem and how she solved it. When you click to the next slide, you're going to be reading some short passages and trying to determine what the theme is of each passage.